So I was living on a farm, and do you know where this farm was? Which state? Well, you answered last time. Let's see if anyone else knows. No? It's a state. It gets a lot of tornadoes.
Starts with a K.
No? Yes, what is it?
Kansas.
Kansas?
Yes.
Yes, that's where I lived with my Auntie Em and my Uncle Henry. And one day I was walking back to the... Toto wants to take a nap. I was walking back to my farm when out of nowhere I saw a tornado in the distance. And Kansas, being a very windy state, it gets a lot of tornadoes. And we had a storm cellar built because we get so many tornadoes. And my Auntie Em and my Uncle Henry were already in the storm cellar. But it was locked, so I couldn't get in. So I ran into the house and the tornado came up out of nowhere. And it felt like the house lifted up right off the ground. And suddenly, out of nowhere, I woke up in my bed and I was in this very colorful world. And I walked out and there were all these beautiful flowers and these little tiny people, and they called themselves munchkins, and they wore very colorful costumes, and they had these giant lollipops that looked very tasty. I wanted to try one. There might be one or two in here. But when my house landed in Munchkin Land, I landed on someone, and do you know who that person was? You know all the answers today, don't you? No? She originally wore the ruby slippers. She had striped stockings.
You'll see a lot of them around Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Remember who was under that house? Was it somebody bad or was it somebody good? You guys remember? No?
Why don't you help them out?
The Wicked Witch of the East.
Yes,
right.
the Wicked Witch of the East. And she was the sister of Glinda and the Wicked Witch of the West. And the Wicked Witch of the West,
She's right there.
Oh, she's right there. When she found out that I had accidentally killed her sister, she got very mad and she wanted to take my ruby slippers away from me. But the good witch Glinda gave me my ruby slippers, and I wasn't allowed to give them to the Wicked Witch of the West because then she would overthrow all of Oz and become the most evil ruler in all of Oz, and we couldn't have that. So then, after all of this very traumatizing events that happened to me, I was told by the Munchkins that the only way I could get home was to follow the yellow brick road so I could go to the Emerald City. And do you know who I would find at the Emerald City?
Anyone else want to try?
Okay.
It's the name of the book.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes?
She got it.
Yep, and you got it too.
Mhm.
The Wizard of
Find
Oz.
The Wizard of Oz, because he could take me home. So I started my journey on the yellow brick road, and I happened upon Scarecrow.
That's right. She came to a crossroads, and there was many different ways to go, and she didn't know which way to go. And well, I was just hanging out up there. And do you know why? Do you know why I was in the field? Do you know what my job is?
What does the Scarecrow do?
Scare away the crows.
Exactly. Yeah. A farmer stuffed me together and hung me up there and said, "Scare away these crows," but I wasn't very good at it. Do you know why? You back there.
Because you were on a pole.
Well, that's one reason.
That
Yeah.
too, but he's lacking something. It's in his head. Or
It wasn't in my head.
It would be in his head.
You want to help him out again?
He's missing his brain, so we didn't know how.
Yes.
That's right.
Exactly.
And you see, when Dorothy first came up, she asked which way to go. And, well, without a brain, I told her to go that way, or both ways. When you don't have a brain, you get into all sorts of confusing things like that. But you see, Dorothy helped me down, and she told me that maybe if I went with her, the wizard could give me some brains. Now, at first she thought maybe it wasn't a good idea that I go with her because the Wicked Witch was so mad at her. But I told her I'm not afraid of a witch. I'm not afraid of anything. Except a lighted match.
Very true.
But anyway, I decided that I'd face a whole box full of matches if I could get a brain. So off we went down the yellow brick road and we came along to an apple orchard. And do you know who we met there? Does anyone know who this is?
He's very shiny.
Yes.
The Tin Can Man?
Yeah, the Tin Man. That's right. And you see, his job is to cut down trees. And one day he was out cutting down a tree and it started to rain. And being made of tin, he rusted all up and he was stuck that way for a very long time. But Dorothy found his oil can. And then we were able to give him some oil so he could move again. And he told us that he was missing something too. Something the tinsmith forgot to give him. Do you know what it was? You've got all the answers today. You're very smart.
Yes, in the back.
Neck.
Well, I think when it was rusted up, he probably felt that way.
Yeah.
But
He was missing his heart.
That's
Yes,
right. He
he
didn't
was.
have a heart, and he was sad because that meant he couldn't love anyone. So we invited him to go along with us to the Emerald City. But before we could leave the apple orchard, the Wicked Witch showed up again. She was mad at Tin Man and me. She didn't want us helping Dorothy along. So she threatened us with fire and told us that she'd destroy us if we helped Dorothy. But we decided we weren't going to give up. Because friends don't give up on each other. We decided that no matter what, we were going to help Dorothy get home. Because that's what friends do. They help each other out. So back down the Yellow Brick Road we went. But as we went further and further, the apple orchard got thicker and thicker, and soon it wasn't an apple orchard at all. It
there
was,
were so many shadows and
Yeah.
spooky spirits.
it was a dark and creepy forest. And do you know what lives in forests? You both want to give it a try?
Yeah, sure, both of you.
Well, like lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Oh my.
And we're all huddled together and we're talking about what we might see, the lions and the tigers and the bears.
Oh
and
my.
and suddenly a lion jumped out into the road. Do you know what lions do?
They roar.
Yes, let's hear all of you roar. Give us a good lion roar. She's ready for it.
She can do it.
Yeah, there we go.
I can't.
Can you be louder and scarier?
Was it really scary?
Well, I
Can you do
when
it?
I wake up in the morning.
Don't we all?
But so lion was roaring at us, but we found out he wasn't really mean. He was just scared. And when he's scared, he roars because he discovered that if he roared really loud, he could scare other creatures away and they'd run away. But Dorothy wasn't afraid of him, so she walked right up to him and slapped him on the nose and told him that wasn't very nice.
No, it wasn't.
And then that's when he told us all about the troubles he was having. All he wanted to do was be king of the forest, but how could a lion be king of the forest if he didn't have courage? Anytime something scary came along, he'd just run away back into the woods and cry. But that's when we had the great idea that the wizard could probably give him courage too, and then he could go home and be king of the forest. So he joined us on our journey, and down the Yellow Brick Road we went. So we weren't affected by the poppies, but Dorothy, the lion, and Toto were. We were skipping along, and all of a sudden, Dorothy became very tired. I tried to take her by the hands and pull her along, but that didn't work out very well. And next thing I knew, she was fast asleep, and we tried to get the lion to run out of the poppy field too, but he passed out as well. And I was trying to come up with a smart plan. I was trying to figure out how we could get them out of there, but next thing I knew, Tin Man started crying. He was so sad that Dorothy might not get to see the wizard after all that he just started crying, and soon he rusted up, and I was all alone. So I screamed for help, and I screamed and I screamed. But what I didn't know was that Glinda the Good Witch heard me. You see, Glinda was watching over us to keep us safe, so she made it snow. And do you know what snow does to flowers?
Makes
Yeah, in the winter, your moms and dads might plant flowers in the summer, but then when the winter comes, they all die because flowers need sunlight and warmth, not snow. So the snow killed the poppies, and once the poppies were gone, Dorothy, the lion, and Toto were able to wake up again. And then we continued on our way, and we were finally at the Emerald City. Do you want to tell them about the Emerald City, Dorothy?
Yes, when we arrived there, we were all looking pretty gross from the journey, so...
Do you ever have a long day where you're outside playing in the sun? Do you get sweaty
You get
and dirty?
dirty. Yes, that's how we were feeling. So we were given a makeover. And then we met the gatekeeper of the Emerald City, but he didn't want to let us in because not a lot of people get to go to the Emerald City, only very special people.
And nobody gets to see the wizard.
No.
Not know how.
No.
Oh, so he says.
But when he saw my ruby slippers, he apologized right away and he let us in because the ruby slippers are the most powerful objects in Oz. Here we are at the Emerald City, but when we got there, we met a gatekeeper, and he didn't want us to let us in. No way, no how.
Nope.
But then he saw that I was wearing the ruby slippers, and the ruby slippers are the most powerful object in Oz. So then he apologized and was very sorry, and he let us into the Emerald City. And when we got into the Emerald City, we eventually found the wizard, and this is the wizard right here.
It was a scary experience. He showed up as a giant floating head, covered with smoke and fire. You know, scarecrows don't like fire. We tried to tell him what we wanted, but he already knew. I guess that's what wizards do. They know everything. So he told us that if we wanted to get our hearts, our brain, and our courage, or for Dorothy to go back to Kansas, we'd have to get the Wicked Witch's broomstick. Now, do you think a Wicked Witch is going to hand over her broomstick if we act nicely?
No.
So unfortunately, the only way we were ever going to get it is if we went out there and destroyed the Wicked Witch. And we didn't want to do that. We didn't think it was very nice. But how else were we going to get what we needed? How else was the wizard's throne room? Did you know how he appeared to us? Yeah.
He appeared as a big head, like, coming out of nowhere, and there was fire everywhere.
That's
And
right.
He was really scared because he didn't like fire.
Yeah, I did not like that fire.
Yes,
And we-
that's very scary.
We told him all what we wanted. But the thing is, being a wizard, he already knew what we wanted. But he told us that he would grant our wishes, but only if we brought him the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West. And do you think a Wicked Witch is just going to hand us her broomstick if we asked for it? No, so that meant we had to destroy her to get it. So we didn't want to do it, but we needed our brains and our heart and courage, and Dorothy wanted to go home, so we decided the only thing to do was to go out to the west and find the Wicked Witch.
So we were on our way to the west when out of nowhere a flying monkey snatched me up and took me back to the witch's castle.
Oh, and they tore my chest out and they threw it over there. Then they took my legs off and they threw them over there.
Oh, and Lion was so scared.
Oh, yeah, Lion couldn't do anything. He was so frightened, and they took the Tin Man's axe, and they flew away with Dorothy and Toto. We thought we'd never find them. But see, Toto was able to run away from the witch. And Toto came back and found us, and he led us back to the witch's castle. So we got into the disguise of the witch's gods, and we snuck into her castle. And we were able to rescue Dorothy, but before we could get out of the castle, the Wicked Witch showed up.
Yes, the Wicked Witch showed up.
Do you know what she did?
She was very scary, very
The Wicked Witch set me on fire. And then do you know what happened?
What?
Well, the fire had to be put out, so as I was grabbing some water to put out the scarecrow, some splashed on the witch
You know what
and she
happened
started
then?
melting. I think you know. What's your answer?
Well, I started burning, but Dorothy was able to rescue me. Do you know how she rescued me? Yeah.
With water to put out the fire, but the fire, the Wicked Witch, the water melted the Wicked Witch.
Yes,
That's right. When she tried to put the fire out, it put out the fire, but it also splashed and hit the Wicked Witch in the face. And you know, Wicked Witches don't like water. They're allergic to it. So then she started to melt away.
She melted into a puddle on the floor, and all that was left were her clothes.
Do you guys remember what the witch said when she was melting? That's right. She started screaming that she was melting. Sounds like Mom over there knows.
Can you do an impression?
The witch screamed, "I'm melting!" And soon she had all melted away and nothing was left but her cape and her hat. And the broom! And you see, we were able to get the broomstick. And we went back to the Emerald City to see the wizard, but he didn't want to grant our wishes.
Even after we gave him the broom.
We went through all that trouble, and he told us we weren't going to get what we wanted most of all. Now, Toto smelled something. I'm not sure what he smelled, but he started digging around in a curtain, and he pulled it back, and we realized there's no wizard here at all. Just a little old man, a humbug, that's what we called him. Someone who's not very nice, someone who tries to trick other people. That's what you call them, humbugs. And he told us, though, that we didn't need anything from him. That we always had our brains and our hearts and our courage. He told me that throughout my journey, I came up with a whole bunch of smart ideas. You see, even a baby has a brain the day it's born, but it doesn't know anything. You only learn from doing and trying. And you learn from your mistakes, and you get better and smarter every day. And Tin Man, we learned, a heart isn't judged by how much you love other people, it's how much you're loved. So when you do kind acts or nice things for your friends, that makes them love you. And because we all loved Tin Man because he was so kind to us, he discovered that he had always had a heart, and probably the biggest heart in all of Oz. And Lion, just because he ran away from something dangerous doesn't mean that he was scared. How many of you would run away if you saw a wild animal running at you? Or are you afraid to walk in front of a car?
Oh.
See? That's not being cowardly, that's being smart. So the lion wasn't really a coward, he was just wise to run away from trouble. Which one? Trying to dive right in. This one? We haven't gotten to that part, Wolf. Oh, that's a CD.
CD's not there, the CD's at home.
But anyway, Tin Man, you see, Tin Man, a heart isn't judged by how much you love, but how much you are loved by others. And Tin Man, we all loved him because he was so kind to us. So if you're good to people and kind to people, that's the real example of your heart, because other people will start to love you in return. And so Tin Man, he had the biggest heart in all of Oz.
He did.
He never gave up on us. And Lion wasn't a coward. Think about it. Would you jump in front of a moving car? Or chase a bear? No, it's not a very smart decision. So we discovered that Lion wasn't being cowardly by running away from scary things. He was being smart. These things inside. Courage. When you work together with your friends and family, you will learn these lessons and be able to help each other out. But then we discovered that doesn't help Dorothy. I mean, Dorothy doesn't have a home inside of her, does she?
No.
So the wizard came up with an idea. You see, the wizard was from America too. He was from Omaha, where he used to work for a carnival, and he flew in a big hot air balloon. Have any of you ridden in a hot air balloon before? You have? Was it fun?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the wizard had his hot air balloon, and he was going to take Dorothy home, but before Dorothy could get in the balloon, the ropes broke, and it flew away without her, and she thought she'd never get back to Kansas. But then Glinda the Good Witch showed up. Do any of you know what lesson Dorothy learned? She told Dorothy that... Yep, you remember from earlier, don't you?
Yeah. She learned that home. She learned that there's no place like home, and home isn't really just like a place that you go to. It's where you
Exactly.
Very true.
Yeah, that Dorothy didn't need to get back to Kansas necessarily, but that she needed to get back to her Aunt Em and Uncle Henry.
Because
And
they're
then-
my family and they're my home.
and Toto and all of Toto's little friends.
That's true. Toto has many friends.
Yep, the chickens and the pigs. And now that Dorothy had learned that lesson, Glinda told her that there was something magic she could do to return home. How many of you know what that is?
Can you do it for me?
You have the Ruby Slippers and you have to do this 3 times.
Oh.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
what is that?
Ruby Slippers, you have to wear the Ruby Slippers and click your heels.
Click your
3
heels
times.
3 times.
And what do you say?
There's no place like home.
That's right.
And once I did that, I returned back to Kansas, back to my Auntie Em and Uncle Henry. And everything back in Oz just seemed like a dream, even though I know they were very real. And that's the story. That's the end.
Thank you. Do any of you have any questions about the story? No questions? Yeah.
Are there different type of like roads besides the yellow brick road, like the?
Oh yes, there was the red brick road.
Yeah, there's the red brick road, and that's just a street that goes around Munchkinland. It actually leads to Munchkinland Town Hall, but there's emerald streets in the Emerald City, and there's actually 2 yellow brick roads. One goes to the south, and one goes to the east. Munchkinland's in the east, and then to the south is another part of Oz. So when Dorothy sees those roads intersecting, it's where the different yellow brick roads meet up. They all lead to the same place.
Like a fork in the road.
Yeah, exactly. There's different places you can go in Oz, but as long as you follow the yellow brick road, you'll get to the Emerald City. And then, of course, there's dirt roads out by the witch's castle, and, you know, little roads, but the yellow brick road is obviously our biggest road.
Mm-hmm. Most popular too.
Any other questions? Do any of you like to read?
Yes. What kind of books do you like to read?
Yeah, what kind do you like?
39 clues.
Oh,
39 clues.
are those mysteries?
Oh, you like mystery?
Well, those would be
novels?
hard. I wouldn't be able to figure those out.
Oh yes.
How about you?
I like books like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and there's a few Gravity Falls books. That Gravity Falls is my favorite show. Like and like write in them and like do all these mysteries.
Okay.
And
So like puzzle books.
Yeah, sort of. Like there's crossword puzzles and like, stuff like that. It's
Okay.
really cool. And then there's of course like little like writing that talks about like all the mysteries and stuff from the show. So.
Okay. Do any of you like Alice in Wonderland? Yes.
Mhm.
That's one of my favorite books.
Stories about princesses,
Or fairies or
Or-
knights.
mermaids. Did you know that there's more books about the Land of Oz besides the Wizard of Oz?
How
Lots
many
of
are there total,
stories.
Scarecrow?
There are 40 books about the Land of Oz.
Wow.
So if you think Harry Potter's got a lot of books, he's got nothing on us. And they actually sell some of those books here. You could read about Dorothy's adventures in Oz. She returns to Oz several times, and eventually she even comes to live there with us. Her and Aunt Em and Uncle Henry.
Yep. And Toto.
And Toto.
Yeah, and Toto too. And if you guys like the story of the Wizard of Oz, we have a few things here in the store that you would be able to buy and take home. We have a CD which tells the story. So if you would prefer to listen to the story rather than read it, you can just pop it in a CD player and it's live actors telling the story with all the characters. We also have copies of the book available today. We have the storybook, which is for some of you younger readers, as well as the full novel.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you all for joining us.
Just hearing the story, it's like for this age, it probably sounds so bizarre. What on earth?
There's kind of made up stuff.
Do you want to get any pictures at all?
Would you like to take a picture? I found one.
I don't know.